You may know Tony Robbins, the self-improvement guy. He's written a lot of very helpful books. I haven't read them, but I've heard that they're pretty good. Naturally, as you know, any self-improvement guy will be interested in health, so they'll eat a certain way. At one point in his life, Tony Robbins ate a bunch of fish. Yeah, I mean, the majority of his calories come from fish if I've understood it correctly. And what happened might or might not shock you depending on if you know the reality of fish, which is that Tony Robbins, if I've understood it correctly, nearly died of mercury poisoning. Now remember, to our understanding, this guy ate clean. I mean, he ate fish and he ate vegetables, so that's what he ate. But still, he got mercury poisoning. You might think that the most dangerous foods are found in the junk food category, but to be fair, you can find dangerous foods in every category. People who make YouTube videos that are list-based usually just go through the list and that's the YouTube video, because that's what people want to know. You want to know about the foods. But the important part is, how are we assessing these foods? What can you learn from this? How can you apply this knowledge to the foods that you're buying, to the foods that you're eating? See, in many cases, it doesn't have anything to do with the food itself. It just has to do with what is on the food. So in many cases, you've got pesticides, fungicides, and herbicides, which are highly toxic on fruits or vegetables. And if you eat that, well, then that's a dangerous food. So if you've got pollution on anything, then it becomes dangerous. Now the other side of the spectrum is processing. So you've got no pesticides, no real pollution, but you take the food itself and you process it in ways that makes it so that it contains pollution. An example would be to take any food and then turn it into ashes by burning it. Yeah, you've cooked it, but you've cooked it too much. And now it's very obvious to you that it's toxic. But if you cook it in the middle, over here, you might think that it's okay to eat because it tastes alright and, you know, it may be a part of junk food, but it's still toxic. Yeah, you didn't take it all the way, but it's still toxic. So as you might understand, nearly 99% of the food you find in supermarkets is then going to fall into this definition of pollution. And the reason this video exists, the reason I want to make it, is because, well, you should be able to distinguish between what's really, really bad and what's not that bad, what's still bad. Without any shadow of a doubt, the #1 spot has to go to farmed fish. Why? Because if you look at food in general, I believe farmed fish is the only place where you can find a really, really high concentration of pollutants. The other foods on the list do damage. They do real damage. They hurt you. But pollutants, industrial chemicals, are gonna do much, much worse things than the other things on the list. We've already mentioned mercury, and I want you to watch a video made by the University of Calgary where they show how mercury literally destroys neurons. It destroys them. It disassembles them. If farmed fish only contained mercury, it would still be on the #1 spot. But it also contains a bunch of other things. Still, I'm not saying that fish is a bad thing or unhealthy. Not at all. It's a very healthy food if you know how to source it. And even if it says wild caught, that doesn't mean anything. Because the important thing is, what environment was it living in? Yeah, sure, it still needs to be wild caught, but you have to know where the fish came from. And if you know all of that, then you can go and buy the fish, no problem at all. But if you don't know the quality of the body of water that the fish was living in, well, then don't even bother. Okay, so why are farmed fish so toxic? First of all, realize that that is the way it is. There are studies on this. But other than that, there are many practices that are bad. So because of the crowded area that the fish live in, there are many diseases that spring up, so they use antibiotics to avoid all of that, but antibiotics by itself is pollution. Then you've got other chemicals that are used in the water, and you've also got the feed, which is also toxic. The second food is vegetable oils. Now, I don't mean olive oil that is stone pressed and unheated. No, that's a good food. There's no problem with that whatsoever. What I mean is corn oil, canola oil, rapeseed oil, basically anything that's processed, and especially palm oil. Why are these oils so unhealthy? Well, because they're processed. If you look at the olive oil, it's not processed. It just, you squeeze the olive and then the oil comes out because olives are naturally very oily. But if you look at corn as an example, where the hell is the fat in corn? Yeah, but they found a way to get the fat out, which they did a long time ago, and it basically goes like this. You take a bunch of corn, then you put hexane on them, then you heat all of that up to evaporate the hexane, then you filter it, and then you heat it up again, and then if you want it to be margarine, you heat it up again under vacuum, and you shoot hydrogen molecules at it. The thing with vegetable oils is that they're very, very cheap. So if you've got a company that makes ice cream, you're gonna save a lot of money by using vegetable oils. So if you go to the supermarket and you buy anything, you'll usually find vegetable oils in it. Now, a lot of people ask me about what fat is good and what fat is bad. Usually the fat is good if it's completely unprocessed, and usually it is bad if it's processed. So I would say that olive oil is better than cooked beef fat. It's all about processing. Vegetable oils are really bad because they're insanely processed. I mean, they're under vacuum 2 times, and their hydrogen molecules are shot at them. There are many studies that link them to inflammation, heart disease, diabetes, literally every disease you can think of. Think about it. How is your body supposed to use that kind of fat? It's completely unutilizable. It will just harden inside your body and do nothing. Maybe now you understand why it causes heart disease. The next food on the list used to make me feel very bad as a child. Soda. Yeah, soda. You see, the problem with soda is that you can use it to clean toilets, and as you might already have guessed, it's extremely processed. But wait a minute, you can use it to clean toilets, so that means it's very abrasive. Now, imagine all of that inside of you. What do you think soda does to your gut lining? What do you think the molecules that are in there do to your body? And that's just the pollution side of things, the stuff you get when you process something. You've also got sugar, which is just a additive that is much gentler than all of these things. And sugar kills red blood cells. The gentlest thing in soda kills red blood cells. Then what do you think everything else does to you? The last thing that should be noted about soda is that in many cases sugar isn't used. If it's Diet Coke or Pepsi Max, it's sweeteners, it's artificial sweeteners. And usually if you look at the normal sodas, it's a mixture of both sugar and sweeteners. Get this into your head. Artificial sweeteners are toxic, especially aspartame. Just read the abstract of this study. It literally messes up your brain. I'm proud of you, you know why? Because you watch these videos. You watch videos about health on YouTube while everyone else is watching watermelons explode. It is really admirable that you care about your health, and therefore, since you're already on the path, consider subscribing, and if you're already subscribed, thank you. It means a lot to me. The reason why studying these things is so important is because you already know what's gonna happen if you fall from a building. You're gonna die. You know the consequences. Well, you don't know the consequences of eating certain things. But if you did, you wouldn't eat them, just like you wouldn't jump from a roof or a building. The more you know about the bad things that you do, the less you're gonna do them. And that's why it's very good that you're watching these kinds of videos. And as for the last thing I want to say, in many cases we do things just because we seek experience. Now, why do we seek experience? I don't really know. But you can ask yourself that question. Why do you seek experience? What is wrong with the present moment? Why do you need something to happen to be happy? And then when that thing happens, why do you need another thing to happen to be happy? Therefore, any habit that you cling on to because you think that it gives you pleasure literally does nothing for you. So when it comes to any experience, especially the ones that are bad for your health, really ask yourself this question and see if what you're doing is necessary. With that said, thank you for watching the video. Your presence is incredibly valued. Like the video if you actually liked it, and comment if you have a question or if you want to say something. We all benefit when you do. Go and achieve excellent health. I know you can do it.